Welcome to Intentional Divorce Insights. I'm Leah Hadley, certified divorce financial analyst, accredited financial counselor, and the founder of Intentional Divorce Solutions. I'll be your guide through the complexities of divorce, finance, and emotional wellness. Join me as we uncover practical tips and empowering insights to help you navigate your divorce with clarity and intention. Hi there, and welcome back to Intentional Divorce Insights. It is my pleasure to introduce Joy Bartholomew to you today. She is a divorced mom of two and a divorce coach for women. After her divorce, Joy had a new life ahead of her. And she is so inspiring to hear her talk about her life. As she was closing out her 30-year police career, she became a yoga teacher, a meditation facilitator, and a divorce coach. And she is passionate about working with women, helping them to manage their emotions, find clarity in their futures, and to create a life that they love. Welcome, Joy. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh gosh, Leah, thank you so much. This is a great honor to get to sit down and chat with you about this.
It is absolutely my pleasure. And I just have to hear the story of how you go from police officer to yoga teacher.
It is one of those little stories that you go, a stupid puppy head tilt is the way I always call it when you go, how did that happen? I was a police officer for a long time at that point. Back in 2017, and I had been doing yoga for years, and I decided I wanted to go on yoga retreats and I wanted to do different things. And my husband at the time, my ex-husband now, was like, well, we don't have the money for that. We don't have the time for that. All while he was going on ski trips with the boys and buying a boat and doing these different things. So when the separation occurred, I said, well, wait a minute, it's my time. I get to do some fun things. And absolutely the first thing I did was signed up for yoga teacher training. The second thing I did was sign up for a yoga retreat in Costa Rica. And I said, well, you know what? Now I have money to do those things. And now I have the time and I can make these things work for me. And I think that was kind of the start of really getting to reclaim and recreate what it is, who it is I was, and what I wanted out of life.
Oh, fantastic. I love that. And so today we're talking all about managing stress through divorce, which, as we talked about briefly, is a huge topic, and there's a lot to it. So tell us a little bit about how stress negatively contributes to the divorce process.
Stress just takes such a huge bite out of your entire life. So now you add on the extra stress of divorce and learning how to co-parent. You add on the extra stress of being a single parent and having to navigate the uncertainty of finances. And it just really begins to overwhelm and overtake you. And I see women a lot, and it's really sad, the uncertainty that they feel and the fear they feel, and that they're just bogged down by that stress. So it really creates this place again of that uncertainty and fear. And when you have that, you're making bad decisions. You're making decisions from this scarcity mindset, from this lack mindset, from this scratching to bring yourself up. And if you can reduce some of the stress, if you can bring that down into a normal level of stress, which is still way too high, but when you can bring that down, all of a sudden you're making better decisions for you, for your finances, for your kids, for your future. And the process really just opens up. It just gives you a lot more clarity on what it is you want. And for the divorce process, that's huge. And when you bring down that stress on a personal level, all of a sudden you breathe better. You can have just more awareness and more mindfulness and more space. My overwhelm led me to driving myself to the emergency room at 2:00 in the morning, thinking I was having a heart attack, and it was just reflux. But what do we do as women? We sit there and WebMD at 2 a.m. and go, I think this is a heart attack. So it really has this body, mind, and spirit negativity that closes in on you when you're trying to make the biggest decisions that you need to make through this process.
So true. And it also has a huge impact on the way we interact with each other, right?
Most
And
definitely.
so when you're already kind of feeling that stress, whether it's, children that you have at home, you're more likely to snap at them or to be short with them. Certainly dealing with things with your spouse, if you're trying to figure out co-parenting things. But even as you're trying to negotiate through the divorce, everything is like bigger than life when you are feeling overwhelmed like that, right?
Completely. And it's hard to separate some of those things out. And I always say people are at their worst when they're going through their divorce. I used to tell my mom all the time, she was like, how was your day at work? When I was an early police officer, I'm like, Ma, nobody ever calls us when things are good. Everybody always calls us when things are bad. And now you're just thrown into this time of when things are bad.
Right.
And it's the same thing. You like you're saying, you snap at your kids, you don't interact well with your ex, your co-parent, whoever it is. And it makes it all that much worse.
Absolutely. So what are some natural ways that people can lower their stress?
There are so many good things that you can do at home. And I think a lot of women get overwhelmed when they hear self-care, right? It's not massages and manicures. Well, it can be. But so much of that stress reduction really starts with personal self-care. And that's starting in the kitchen. That's starting with healthy food and lots of water and kind of getting that under control. I got to say, I relied a lot on wine and chocolate. and they can be your friends, but it doesn't help bring down that stress. A lot of times it's coming into places of just being kind to yourself, having grace for yourself, that gentle movement, yoga, Pilates, bar, not necessarily lifting heavy weights and going and running a marathon, but slowing down the pace. You have enough on your plate that is making you crazy. Slow it down. And I think that's hard for us women. Sometimes it's hard for us moms. What do you mean to slow it down? And so taking care of ourselves is just allowing it to sit, allowing the feelings, kind of those icky feelings, to work through. So I always tell people this is the great time to journal and get the ickiness from inside out. Get it out on paper, get it out, type it out. However it is, just allow it to release. So there are all of these beautiful ways to reduce your stress through breath work, tapping, having those nice red light therapies, doing simple things for yourself, taking a 10-minute walk. You're getting stressed out. Stop sitting where you're sitting. Stop being rooted where you are. Get up, take a walk, allow the sunlight, the fresh air, morning and evening routines, finding some really nice bookends to your day, a nice habit-forming way you start your day, a nice habit-forming way you end your day. There's going to be crazy in the middle, but wait a minute. You've got this grounding at the beginning and this grounding in the evening. It's going to help you deal with those stressors in the middle of the day. And it's going to look different for everybody. So what I love to say is bring something in that's body, mind, and spirit. Whether that's a meditation, a prayer, a devotional, in that spirit realm, if it's in the body, if that's moving, eating, breath work, mind, it's that journaling. If you can work through maybe one thing each day, pick your favorite in each category. And then you can go, well, you know what? Tomorrow, I want to do something a little different. It doesn't have to look the same every day. And you get to explore a little bit and figure out what really connects with you now, with who you are now. Not who you were, but who you are now.
I love that. I love that it doesn't have to be super complicated. I know when I was going through my own divorce, I took more bubble baths that year than I have since probably I was 2 years old. Because I just needed that time to like decompress, and my kids were still young, and it was just like my me time.
No kidding. And, and that helps again in so many other ways, relaxing the body and the warm water and the scents and all of the things. So yeah, you certainly can add all kinds of amazing things into that self-care routine.
Absolutely. Now, I know that stress can have a huge impact on your sleep. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I love sleep.
I love sleep too.
I love sleep. I love naps. In all forms, sleep is good. We were driving up here for the holidays earlier to visit, and I was letting my son drive, and I was like, oh, let me see if I can sleep in the back seat of the car. Didn't really matter. I was like, oh, let me get a couple winks in. But I think a lot of women have problems getting to sleep and staying asleep when they're going through stressful times. So having an evening routine where you can really learn to unplug, where you can take an hour to close out your day, like we were talking about in that bookend, close out that day and really allow yourself to work through finding that natural sleep process. So I have an acronym, SLEEPS. So she sleeps well, because don't we all want to? So it's really leaning into making your bedroom your sanctuary, limiting heavy foods, spicy foods, and alcohol before you go to bed, essential oils and natural remedies, electronics, closing those down about an hour before you go to bed, being able to put aside negative thoughts, journaling, getting out your negativity, really bringing that peace into your evening meditations, and being able to set a schedule every night at 10 o'clock, every night at, a specific time you start this process. And the problem is, what do we do on the weekends? We want to stay up late, we want to sleep in, and that really messes with our natural rhythms, our natural routines. So whatever you do Sunday through Thursday, you need to do on Friday and Saturday night as well, and keep that same set sleep schedule. So going through the She Sleeps Well process can help you naturally fall asleep and stay asleep longer into the evening.
Oh, I love that. And I have to say, I made a new rule in our house. My kids were having a hard time sleeping for a little while. And so I said, electronics have to be turned off an hour before bed now. And it was like magic. I mean, seriously, it was just like a couple of days and everybody was sleeping so much better. I couldn't believe how quickly it made an impact.
Yeah. My son was going through some issues when he went into high school. He transitioned to a private school, and I started noticing that he was having problems sleeping at night. So I started researching the melatonin, the magnesium, the essential oils, bringing a diffuser into his room, doing the white noise, changing out his bedding for something that was softer and more comfortable, getting rid of the clutter to make it more of a sanctuary. And what I found is that not only did it help him, but wait a minute, now I started using the lavender linen spray in my room and pretty candles and all of those fluffy blankets and pillows, that us women get such grief for, right? When you have that bed full of extra pillows, but having some of those soft textures in there really did help in the sleep process.
That's fantastic. And the other thing is, I noticed, and I didn't even think about this when, like financially, it wasn't the best mistake, but at the time, I refurnished my whole bedroom when I went through my divorce. I just really wanted to like claim that space. But looking back on it, I think that's what I was doing, is creating this sanctuary for myself of like, now this is my space and I'm going to, feel good in this space.
Exactly. And what that was is a shared space has negative connotations to it, most likely. So even if you can't afford the new furniture or the new mattress, because dang, those are expensive, getting some new blankets or getting some new lamps or putting up some pictures, like just some different, aesthetic pieces can definitely be a help there to reclaim it as your own. So I love that you were able to go through and do that.
Yeah, it really felt good. And even looking back on it, like I know it really financially was not a good thing to do, but I did. I felt good. I felt better every time I walked in, and it was no longer like our space. It was definitely mine. And that was so important to me.
And I talk to a lot of women who are on the fence. Do I keep the house? Do I not keep the house? And, financially, it's going to be a hardship for me to keep it, but this is where the kids grow up. And this is where they have memories. Well, this is also where you have memories. And this is where those fights occurred. And this is where the drama was. And sometimes it's a nice start for everybody to start in a new place. So sometimes we do have to upset that apple cart a little bit, start fresh, and realize that when you declutter, when you change things out, there's a breath of fresh air, like your eye just seeing over a clean, clear surface. It doesn't have this when it's going on in your mind. It's not the ups and downs. And it gives you just a lot more peace of mind. So restarting, decluttering is huge in this process.
Absolutely. I had a client who was in her marital home for probably about 3 or 4 years after the marriage. And she was just really having a hard time letting go of it. We talked about it, and, financially it wasn't the best place for her to be, but, she was having a hard time letting go. And then I remember when she sold it and she bought her condo, and she was like a new woman, Joy. I'm not even kidding. Like, she was so excited to be owning this space and making it hers and really feeling like she was moving forward. Her kids were already grown. So it was, just her. And she just was feeling so good making this change. And I just remember like seeing very visibly the change in her, and really recognizing what a difference it can make for people to be in a new environment.
We get stuck in those old ruts. We get stuck in those old habits. And sometimes it's really breaking free. And you're kind of scared, like what's on the other side. And you get there and you're like, wow, I wish I would have done this years ago. I wish I would have made these changes a while back. And then when you do, it really does lighten your spirit, lightens your heart, and really gives you a glimpse onto the other side. And what I love about that is that's one step. Well, maybe now I should change my job. Maybe now I should start dating. Maybe now I should travel. And all of a sudden, you get to create this whole new world. And it really just started with that one small, simple step.
Right.
And it gets you off on a really positive footing.
Absolutely. So how does poor sleep affect your stress when you're going through a divorce?
So sleep is everything. In my world, it really is the basis. If you wake up tired, if you're not getting just enough sleep or enough quality sleep, you really can have, I always call them the 7 dwarfs of sleep. Snow White had 7 little characters in her world, and we have 7 little characters in ours. So you are snarky, snacky, sleepy, you're angry, frustrated, scattered, and foggy. You can really have all of these components that will show up. So your fuse is probably about a millimeter long, and somebody's going to say something and you're going to lose it. Your kids are going to turn around and, when's dinner? I don't know. When did you clean your room? All of these things are going to manifest in your world. And then the kids are going to go to bed and you're going to sit on the sofa with a bag of Oreos, and a glass of wine and go, wow, why can't I get to sleep? Why am I gaining weight? Why am I unhappy? Like, it manifests itself into this huge snowball effect. So if you can get to that core sleep pattern, your cortisol levels go down, your happiness comes up, your anger can be diffused much more easily, your weight will go down. All of a sudden, it gives you just a breath of life into your next day when you get the proper amount of sleep.
It's amazing. It's something so simple that we all take for granted.
It is, but it's not something when you're going through it, when you've got insomnia or you've got this worry that always keeps creeping up. Yeah, it's rough. And you don't realize it until you get into a routine, you get onto the other side and you're like, well, dang, I wish I would have fixed this so much earlier.
Mm-hmm. And you have a resource to help people with sleep, right?
I do. I have the She Sleeps Well checklist, and it goes through each of those 6 components of the sleep process and, talks into each one of those.
Fantastic. So I will be sure to include a link to that in the show notes so you all can take advantage of that. That sounds like a wonderful resource. And Joy, tell us a little bit about how you work with people.
Sure, of course. So I do divorce coaching and I do one-on-one coaching to really help women through this stage of divorce to get through it and heal through it as quickly as possible. Because there's so much better on the other side once you can get past this upheaval and this upside down world that you're in right now. Once you can get past it and get into that recreation stage, it's so much better. So I work virtually with women wherever they are, and I do session packages. So they just sign up and we meet once a week, once every other week as their schedule dictates, and really help them with the divorce process, finding their clarity, co-parenting, and really reclaiming themselves on the other side.
I think divorce coaching is such a valuable resource. And a lot of times people think, well, I'm already spending money on an attorney. Can I really afford to work with a divorce coach? And I'd just be curious, Joy, what do you tell people when they ask you that question?
You're right, because they're in a little bit of that uncertainty with their finances, and they're trying to kind of sweep all the little pennies together and pull them out from the sofa cushions and under the seats in their cars, right? Like paying for things. But really it's an investing in yourself. It's investing in the process of divorce and of yourself. And I try to explain to people that my goal is to help you save time, money, and emotional energy, because your divorce attorney is not your therapist. And the more time you spend with them talking about the problems with your ex, they're charging you by every little increment. That's not their job. In finance, you talk to them about their money, but they not necessarily their co-parenting issues.
Right.
And so it gives them a place to go, an unbiased place to go that can help them through the process and move through more quickly.
And I really like that you said to look at it as an investment, because I really do believe that as well. And it's an investment on multiple levels, right? I mean, it's an investment in yourself, absolutely, during the process. But there is a very true dollar ROI on that investment, in my opinion, because you're able to reduce the time that you're spending with your attorney. That does reduce your legal expenses, right? You have greater clarity around what you want the next phase of your life to look like. And so you're able to kind of fast track that rather than being, in this space of sort of unknown for many years, which a lot of us fumble around for years after a divorce, trying to figure out who am I now? What is my life going to look like? How am I going to increase my income? Looking at all of these different things, right? And so, in terms of your emotional well-being, of course, seeing that return very quickly, but then also in how you're interacting with your ex, with your attorney, developing the communication skills that are actually going to help you smooth out the process in so many ways, but then be able to communicate going forward as well. That's divorce coaches have so many skills that they can transfer through that process to really help in so many different ways.
Yeah, and that's really my goal, is to help make that process much more efficient for them. And let's get on to the good stuff. Let's put this phase, this one chapter behind you, because there's so many other chapters in that book in front of you. Let's just close out this one and let's do it as quickly as possible to get onto the good stuff.
So Joy, where can people find you?
Sure. I can be found, my website is divorce-confidant.com. And I spend most of my time on Instagram, and that's divorce_confidant. And I'm there most days.
And she has an awesome podcast.
Yeah. Yes. And you know what? It's branded the same, the Divorce Confidant podcast. Just keep it simple.
I love it. So Joy has so many wonderful resources for her, for you. I encourage you all to connect and follow her. Lots of great resources on her podcast as well. Joy, thank you so much for being here with us today. Any final words of wisdom that you have for our audience?
Oh, I think that the biggest thing is just to remember that this is just a short phase. This is just a little pit stop in the rest of your life. Just allow yourself to have grace with who you are in this phase and really breathe and move through it and get to the other side as quickly, efficiently, and just start that new phase on the other side.
Terrific. Again, thank you so much for your time and for being with us. And I will see you all soon. Thank you for joining me on Intentional Divorce Insights. It's a privilege to share this time with you. I hope each episode offers valuable guidance to navigate your journey. If you find our content helpful, please leave a review to help others discover the benefits of intentional decision-making in divorce. Until next time, take care and continue to embrace your path with intention.